Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Empowered Podcast. My heart and my mouth are just so expansive right now because I have a very special woman that I'm excited to introduce to all of you. And I'm going to have her introduce herself in just a moment because we are just new online friends. I came across her information on Facebook, saw her beautiful face, saw some of her videos, witnessed the magic that is within her heart, her essence, and her energy. And I knew that she needed to come here and share her wisdom here on the Empowered Podcast. So welcome, Nekole. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Can you share with the lovely ladies that are watching and listening a little bit about yourself, what you do, and who you are?
Yeah. So my name is Nekole Eaton and I am a mama. I have a 4-year-old son. I have a wonderful husband and I'm also 34 weeks pregnant with my second kiddo. Yeah, super exciting. I know. Time just flew on by. And let's see. So I am a licensed pediatric occupational therapist. I've spent the last, it's been about 8 years, 7, 8 years doing that work. And it has expanded me in so many ways. But then I became a mom and I had this deep desire to connect with other parents because it was like I had this newfound experience. It's one thing to learn about things in a book, right? And it's another to experience it for yourself. And so that's led me down a path of a passion being uncovered for conscious parenting, intentional parenting, living intentionally, and also coaching other mamas in that aspect. Because I have found that if I'm just trying to offer my knowledge as a pediatric occupational therapist, which really focuses on child development, right? How to help our kiddos thrive, especially in the early years. It can get lost on parents if they don't have the basics down in terms of how to care for themselves, how to see themselves as parents, and then how to see their children and interact with them. So yeah, that's my life's work.
Oh my goodness. I absolutely love it. And it's so true because those of you who've been listening and watching for a while, you've heard me say how important it is that we put ourselves first in that concept and that you are the common denominator of everything occurring in your life. And Nekole, I love the message that you share about in order to raise conscious children, you need to create that consciousness within yourself first. You need to put yourself in that ability to expand and take care of who you are to then pass that along to your children. I love your work. I think it's so incredible and so essential.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, it was a lesson I had to learn, it wasn't just reading it out of a book. It was like, I was seeing these unconscious behaviors play out as mama and these triggers, right? That I was like, ooh, I didn't know that existed. And it was like, okay, let's peel this back. And then a dedication to do the inner work to get clear. So I'm not projecting my ish on my kids. So that's the passion.
Yeah. So for you, what was it like to become a mom? Like, how would you describe that experience?
Oh, wow. It was nothing like society makes it out to be,
Of course not.
right? I thought I'd have Bambi at my feet and, I delivered this child and all is right in the world. And we had a tumultuous labor and delivery. My son was having a difficult time making it through the birthing canal. And so it was like instant trauma. Like I thought I was going to lose him. We were really close to an emergency C-section. And so when he finally came out, there was this relief of he's here, but also like, oh, I don't have time to process what just happened and I'm in mommy mode. Like, let's go. And that played out actually for about 18 months in the early months where it was like, I haven't dealt with this trauma, but it's showing up in other ways. My interactions with my husband, interactions at work. And again, it was kind of like life forced me to look at what was going on within me. And that was the catalyst for the inner work and understanding these deep layers. So yeah, it really, and I want other parents to feel okay with it not being like what society tells you it needs to be, because I think we internalize so much shame and guilt when we don't feel like, oh, it was the most beautiful experience ever, and it's okay that it's not, or if it wasn't for you.
I think that is so important. I am I'm not a mom myself. Well, I'm a fur mommy, but I know it's quite different. And one of the things I've noticed with so many women in my life, all around me have had babies within the past like 4 or 5-ish years, and everybody's story is so different, which makes sense. I don't know why we believe that everything's going to be perfect when it comes to having
Mhm.
children. But I love what you shared about you don't need to have shame or guilt or fear around what your story is, and know that i- i- there's no perfect. Yours is perfect as it is, and it's not supposed to look a certain way. And I feel like even moving into motherhood from that as well, there's no right way to do it. It's the way that feels most intuitive and clear for you and your body. Yeah.
Ooh, I love the word intuitive because that's been a ping that's been coming online for me lately, and almost like intuitive parenting. And it needs to be this concept because we get so, it's like we all have that magical power, but it gets watered down with societal expectations or what our mom thinks we should be doing or our grandma thinks we should be doing. And it's really empowering women to tap back into that intuition because we really do know when something is off or when we're on the right path. And that was actually a lot of my work as an occupational therapist. It's like really re-empowering parents to advocate for themselves and their children. It's like, you don't need to look to the professionals. Like, you have this internal guidance system that is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And we're taught to dismiss that and look outside of ourselves for validation. And I think we're going through a period where we're coming back home, and that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. So you wouldn't know this, but I have a book that I just wrote that's coming out this fall, and it's called Feminine Warrior. And
Mhm.
it's primarily based around that. It's about coming home into our feminine wisdom, coming into that balance between our strength and our softness, and really, really anchoring into the intuitive guidance that lives within. And one of the things that I've noticed with newer moms, well, and also women who've been moms for quite some time, is almost this feel that there's no time or space for them to care for themselves when they're
Mhm.
caring for especially if they have more than one child. And
Yeah.
so I'm wondering what's your thoughts or your guidance around that for someone that's feeling like, I don't have the space to explore my own consciousness and my intuition. Are you kidding? I'm trying to feed my kids.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I feel that. And I think, part of that is conditioning as well, right? Because we've been taught that everybody else comes first, and that we're expected to hold this all. But also I think that it's almost like unless you have a life experience that forces you to move into self-care or to explore this, that it's easy to resist it. And that was my experience as well. It was like, nope, I can keep chugging along. I'm going to ignore this. And then I literally was having like anxiety attacks, and I wasn't able to function. And I guess my message just is that, like, we don't have to get to that point, right? And we're actually doing ourselves and our children so much more of a service by taking that time out. And if we can reframe it from being a selfish act to a selfless act, I think that that's where the beauty lies. Because how do we expect our children to develop the social, emotional skills, the emotional intelligence that we hope for them to develop if that's not something we're prioritizing within ourselves? Because as you said in the beginning, we are their role models.
Yeah.
So if we can do that work and model what that looks like for our kids, then we're setting them on a really great path and trajectory in their lives. So,
Yeah, that's so beautifully shared. Thank you, Nicole.
yeah.
One of the things that I've thought about often, I lost my mom when I was 19. She passed away to cancer. And so it just causes me to do a lot more reflecting on our relationship, since didn't extend past my 19 years of my life. And the things that I remember the most of my childhood are moments of just being together,
Mhm.
as opposed to anything that we did like that she did for me, or like the work she did that I didn't see behind the scenes, or like having things done like that didn't matter. It was the presence, it was the connection, it was the like intimate conversations, or the cuddles in bed, or the chances when we got to go away and do something new and mom was laughing and having so much fun. Those are the memories that I hold dearest to my heart. And not just because she's passed, that's just what I remember. And I
Mhm.
think it's important that all of us, whether parents or not, remember that it's not what you do or what you say, it's who you be that people
Oh, yeah.
remember.
Speaking to my soul, 1,000%. It's something we have to hold at the forefront of our minds as parents, right? Because it's easy to get caught up in the doing. But yeah, I just, you saying that reminded me just yesterday, sitting on the couch. I'm 34 weeks pregnant. It's hot. It's summer. I don't have a whole lot of energy, but I can also let go of any potential guilt or shame around things that I should be doing, because I sit there and my son and I have this moment where we're looking in one another's eyes, and I just think, I hope you remember this, like cuddling close to me, because it's something that I will hold on to and I will cherish. And there is so much value in just being. And so I just want to say that is beautiful and a testament to how important that is. Yeah.
Oh, I love this. Oh, I love this conversation. Something that I want to pick your brain on a bit, and something that I talk about often with this beautiful empowered podcast community is body image, how we feel about our body. What do you see with the women that you work with is one of the most challenging aspects of post-baby body, or finding that love for body again? And how do you support women with that? Or what's a suggestion that you can make for anyone that's currently struggling with, this is not the body I had before, or my body is not returning to a state that feels comfortable for me? What do I do?
That's a great question. That actually isn't something that has come up in the specific coaching that I've done, but like it's on my mind, especially as my body shifts throughout this pregnancy. And even with my first child, it's like, we can't, again, it's like, I keep going back to society, but we're so conditioned, to look a certain way, to feel a certain way, to be a certain way. And I think that everyone has their journey and their timeline to acceptance. I think it's important to be around women who empower you to accept your body and see it as this vessel that supported life, nurtured life, continues to support you so you can support your children. But that it's also normal to go through like a mourning period, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like,
Yeah.
I don't recognize this person, this body, this vessel, because the change is so fast. We watched like 40 weeks of growing this beautiful belly. It takes time. It's almost a year. And then when you deliver the baby, all of the sudden it's like those 40 weeks are gone. And it's not like the slow process of going back to a postpartum body. So it can absolutely be shocking. It can absolutely be jarring. But yeah, my suggestion would just be get around other women who are in this space of empowering you to love yourself physically, emotionally, on all levels, because it's so important. And it is so common for us women to struggle through that journey to come back to self-love of our body fully.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I totally, yes. Thank you for that. There's two things that I want to share. One, I was just chatting 2 days ago, actually, with a girlfriend of mine. Her baby is just over a year, her first one. And we were talking about her body, and she looks incredible. And she said she feels incredible. And I said, does your body feel similar as it did before baby, or is it different? And she said, I can't even compare the two. They're completely different. It's a completely different body. Some parts are smaller, some parts are bigger, some parts just don't even look the same in any way whatsoever. And I loved the way that she was very just neutral about it, because she does do a lot of her inner work of finding that acceptance of herself, not just physically, but in all the ways. And it was really refreshing and reassuring to hear that from her. And so when you say surround yourself with women who are empowering themselves and who understand what it means to love body however it looks, it's not supposed to look a certain way. I think she's one of the women that I would think about for that, where she has that energy within her. And the other thing that I want to share is, so recently I found this amazing woman, this influencer on Instagram. Her name is Sarah Nekole, and her Instagram handle is The Bird's Papaya. And have you witnessed her before? Have you seen her online?
No, I haven't.
So she lives in Toronto, I believe, just outside Toronto in Canada. And she's all about body positivity. And she has gone through the full spectrum. And she shares these incredible images of her in this like full, sexy, beautiful makeup, looking incredible, with every part of her hanging out and just,
Nice.
yeah, and just lets it be known. And I feel like also surrounding yourself with, Instagram accounts like that, or Facebook people online who are promoting normal bodies, that it
Yes.
doesn't have to look a certain way, that your parenting doesn't have to look a certain way, that your spirituality practice doesn't have to look a certain way, that it can all be a part of what makes you unique and makes you you.
It's so true. I think that that's a huge tip. And also, like, I think about my own personal journey, and that maybe some women struggle with this because it was like a lot of women will get attention obviously for their looks, or maybe they find pride in how their body looked, and so they're attaching some of their worth, maybe some women more than others, to how their body looks. And I think that my journey postpartum, and having to do that inner work, and understand that I'm worthy regardless of what I look like, what I do, just inherently worthy, really helps with the acceptance. It's because you then understand you are beautiful. You have a purpose. Like, your light shines regardless of how your body morphs, and your worth is not tied to your physical looks. And so, just coupled with what you're saying, being around these empowering women where you see their fierceness, you see their strength, and their beauty emanates from that, and you're not focused on what their body looks like. It's just this beautiful light shining from their soul. Yeah, it's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, and when I think too about, especially, men deal with body image issues as
Mm-hmm.
well, but it does seem to be primarily heavier for women. When you think about, for those of you who have daughters, how powerful is it for them to witness mom not questioning whether or not to wear whatever clothes it might be, or not bringing up like, I can't have that pasta tonight, and allowing mom to just live life and feel good in her body, and daughters get to see that and witness that and know that that is love, and that is what it means to be a woman. You don't have to look a certain way. You get to be fully embodied in your presence, in your essence, in your truth, and the body is just a physical manifestation of parts of that, and that's it.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Thousand
Mm.
percent.
Oh, I love this conversation.
Me
Nekole, you're
too.
amazing.
So good. I'm loving
And
it.
if for those of you who are listening and not watching this video, you should probably either go follow Nekole or come watch this video, because this girl is
Oh,
beautiful.
thank you so much. Thank you.
So one thing that I would love is, how would you define or describe conscious parenting in your words?
Mm. Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, it's literally about awareness, right? And then also self-mastery. So, but awareness comes first, right? And so it's in these moments of rediscovering who you are, how we're wired, and why we do things we want, that we do. And again, just peeling back and saying, like, is this serving me? Is this serving my family? If it isn't, what work can we do around this? I mean, again, with the triggers, they come out full fledged when you become a parent. And then all of a sudden, it's almost like you have this expanded like grace and love for your parents, because it's like you become a parent and you're like, oh man, I'm so sorry. Like, I get it. It was hard, I'm sorry I judged you. So, and you understand that everybody is only ever doing the best that they can do from their place of awareness and understanding. So really, for me, in a practical form, it is like, I've gotten to a place now, because this is so important to me, that I feel very strongly when I'm out of alignment with the person, the soul I am aspiring to be. So when I snap on Kai because I'm 34 weeks pregnant, yada, yada, the whole story, it's I'm aware of it. Whereas a lot of times, right, if you're unconscious and you're busy, someone else has to bring it to your attention. They're like, why'd you yell at me? Or do you even know how you just spoke to me? Right. And so it is, it's this work of mastering your own emotions, your inner triggers, understanding where you're coming from. And for me, most importantly, it's having a conversation with our parents and or with our children and turning this into like a teaching moment.
Yeah.
Like, because for me, I was very removed from my parents' emotions. If they were going through something, I didn't know about it. It wasn't okay for them to cry in front of me. It wasn't okay for them to say, I've had a tough day at work or this is what's happening. It was like, something's off, keep your distance or everything's okay. And I want my children to understand that emotions are all right. We all feel them and we need to let them move through us, right? That is part of emotional intelligence. So in order to model that and teach that for our kids, we have to be aware of our own emotions. What are we feeling? What do we need in this moment? How do we take care of ourselves so that we can be the best model and teacher and educator for our children? So that's all a big part of awareness and intentional parenting. It's not about being perfect. Let me just say that. It is so not about being perfect. And I think that can come across as such, like, oh, I'm conscious. I'm this woke parent, And it's like, no, I mess up so many times in the day, but it's about having awareness about that and saying, okay, what am I going to do to get back in alignment? Right.
Absolutely. I love that. That's a really great way to describe it. And I've talked a lot about conscious relationships in the past. And one of the things that I found with that, with emotional intelligence and resiliency, is the ability to screw up, acknowledge it, and then apologize. And that's usually with a partner. And so it may be a bit different, that conversation with your children, but the acknowledgement of it, hey, this is what happened. And it actually didn't feel very good for me to yell at you in that way. And this is how I'm moving through that, or this is what that looks like. There's two things that I find in our traditional school system we're not taught, and it's emotional intelligence and how to deal with money. And those are the two things that we deal with every single day of our life.
Right. So we're like non-functioning humans when we leave school and we're $100,000 in debt. It's crazy, right?
It's outrageous.
Relationships are like the most important thing that we will do in this life. And you're so right. We're not taught to apologize, or that it's okay to be wrong and to move forward. Like I'm so happy though with this journey, because I see that my 4.5-year-old apologizes with so much more ease than myself or my husband, because we're still unraveling. But that's the beauty of committing to something like this, right? Because he has less conditioning as a fresh soul. And so it's like starting from this baseline, and he'll just say, I'm sorry, I'll do better next time. Whereas like me and my husband, sometimes it's like, we'll have this hour-long conversation and no one has said, I'm sorry. So I just, to your point, it's ridiculous that this isn't something that we are taught or is normalized growing up as young children, because it can cause a lot of unnecessary pain and struggle.
It does. And a lot of the women that I work with, I mean, the ages vary between like mid-20s to mid-60s, but the problems or the issues or the complications are the same regardless of age. And so there are women that I work with within their 50s and 60s that this has never even been introduced to them. And it's to no detriment. Like, it's not their fault in any way. It's just the conversation's never been brought up. And that's why I am so grateful for social media, for podcasts, for individuals like yourself and myself that are open to having these public conversations, because this is the work that changes your life. This is the work that allows you to find joy or fulfillment from within. It's not getting that next level of income. It's not getting that next house. It's not purchasing the things. It's not going on the trips. It's none of that. Like you were saying before, it's not outside of you.
Yeah.
It all comes from within. And the within work sometimes can be daunting and scary, which is why you hire an incredible coach to support you. But that's the work that changes your life.
1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible. And it's exactly what you're saying. It's like, as my business grows and things expand, and we are literally in the middle of moving into a brand new home, it's like,
of course you are.
like all of these crazy things, but it is what you're saying. And I'm so grateful for all of these incredible milestones, but I would never trade any of that for the lessons that I've learned from doing this work. Yeah. This is so liberating. Yeah. It is so freeing. And it allows me to be who I am and connect with amazing souls like yourself, like from a very pure and authentic place. And that's how life should be lived. I want that for everybody, so
Yeah, I
this
agree. I
work is
want it for
everything.
everyone too.
Yeah.
And I would love to talk for just a moment about what is it like to be a mama and an
Mhm.
entrepreneur?
Yeah.
I feel like it's quite the journey.
It is quite the journey. Yeah, it's really interesting, because when I had Kai, I hadn't started my business yet. And so it's like I'm experiencing this through a different lens now, being pregnant and having a business that's up and moving, right? It is wild. And I am constantly renavigating boundaries, and it's this balance between, gosh, I think this is where the work of like the masculine and the feminine energy became super important for me, right? Because when I first started the business, I was in masculine overdrive of go, 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 do, do, do. Everyone else leave me alone. I don't live here. I don't reside here. Like I just have this work to do. And I realized that A, is not sustainable. And B, again, that's not how I'm trying to show up for my son or for my husband or for anybody else. And so beautifully, again, that work came into my life at that pivotal time to understand that the embodiment and the integration of this feminine energy, and understanding that I am worthy as I am, and
Mm.
the business will grow, organically because of who I am and not what I do. And
Yes.
that if the work I desire to do in this world is to help parents tap into this and raise soul aligned children, and my focus is that at home, that it can all come together beautifully, and it has been so life changing for me,
Yeah.
because I think prior to understanding that, I'd be having a bit of an anxiety attack right now with the second kid on the way, thinking, how am I going to do this all? The
Yeah.
business is growing. Now I have two kids. We're in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
The oldest one isn't in school, and it is a lot, don't get me wrong. I mean, we've had to really just say, let's try this and see if it works.
Yeah.
um, but it's like you're saying, there's no right or wrong answer in this. And if you go back to the intuitive hits, right, what's the next best step? And that's really where I'm at right now in life, with everything being so chaotic and unpredictable. I have to take things one day at a time.
Mhm.
And so I'm allowing myself that grace,
Mm.
and that flexibility.
I think that's so beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
I want to reiterate what you said too about taking it one step at a time. What's that next best step? One of the things that I found COVID has taught a lot of us is that we have no control over what's about to happen. And we never did, but I think
Yeah.
it woke a lot of us up to realizing that. And something I've witnessed as an auntie, because I spend a lot of time with all of my amazing nieces and nephews,
Oh,
is that when it comes to kids, you cannot predict what will occur.
yeah.
And I think that a lot of the internal struggle comes from the constant desire and need to just like, I just need a plan. I just need the structure. I need to figure this out, when it's the feminine energy that is the flow. And so
Yes.
if you're not tapped in at all to that feminine energy, it's going to feel restrictive and constrictive and challenging and frustrating. But if you're able to trust in yourself and trust in the universe, in God, and whoever you believe in, that there is a dynamic flow, that there is this divinity within just being present and not stressing about what's
Mhm.
happening tomorrow. Easier said than done, but when you can come into that place, that brings you that sense of peace within. And so that moment right then, at least that one moment, is peaceful.
Oh, yeah. And control is an illusion. And I think
Yeah.
that that's something it takes a lot of us a while to get to, because I was a control freak 1,000%, and then you realize you're like, I'm taking years off my life trying to control stuff that I can't control,
Yeah.
and so, yes, tapping into that feminine energy has been so huge. And yeah, you're right. A lot of us are coming to that realization now, that we've got to just let go and trust a bit more, right?
Mhm.
Surrender,
Mhm.
sweet surrender. Yeah.
Mm. Oh, this is just so good. All these questions are coming to me. This is exciting. So I'm just curious, what's your what's your favorite thing about moms? Like what is
Mm.
what is that attribute or that experience or that something about a mama that you just absolutely love? Just all mamas, what they've got in common. What is that thing that you love so much, or that experience, or that essence?
I think it is, and something I've, had the pleasure of tapping into becoming a mom is just this beautiful resilience. It's like, holy moly,
Yeah.
women are, it blew my mind just on a physical level, like what our bodies do, sustaining life again for the better part of a year. And then if you choose to breastfeed, nurturing your child for however long, like incredible. Our body's intelligence and making antibodies in our milk to heal our children when they have colds, like incredible, mind-blowing things, right? But then you like couple that with our emotional resilience, and it's like, because our body is doing all of these magical things, there are crazy hormones taking effect and we feel it
Mhm.
while also running our business, while also
Yeah.
showing up as mom, wife, partner,
Yeah.
friend, daughter, all of these things. And it's crazy to me that our society doesn't externally celebrate or validate how much us women in general, women, moms, we
Yeah.
hold, and how we are able to get back up when we're on the ground. We may lock ourselves in the bathroom and cry and pour ourselves a glass of wine, but the next morning we're back up, and we're figuring it out. And I just think that's so beautiful. It's so powerful, and it should be celebrated more. Yeah.
I agree. I think it's one of the most just inspiring traits that I've witnessed as well in mamas, is that the true resiliency to handle anything that comes your way, because there isn't really another option. Because it kind of falls on you. but
Exactly.
but to really understand that you do have that ability within yourself to hold yourself in that way, and to care for your family in that way. And one of the things that I love, and I know you'll resonate with this as I was browsing through your website, is the concept of queen energy and the
Mhm.
matriarch, and the idea of holding the energetic frequency of your household, your family, even sometimes to the community or greater, depending on the level of work you're doing. And that just inspires me and excites me and motivates me so deeply, because it gives us the permission to come into our wholeness and our fullness. Because if you're going to
Mhm.
hold the energy of the whole family, if you're going to
Yeah.
actually step into that matriarchal role, like you're holding a lot, and you are
Yeah.
processing a lot in your body, and having the sacred space to process that, having the awareness and the understanding to trust what's happening and to not judge yourself for it, or to not take on other people's judgments as your own,
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
quite an incredible evolutionary feat.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's beautifully put.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. We got no words
I
anymore.
know. It gives me chills. It's quite incredible.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. I am, I'm so grateful for the work that you do.
Thank
As I
you.
mentioned to you before we actually came into recording this together, I am very aware that I'm not a mom, and I make an effort to not speak to motherhood because I don't have my own personal experience of it. And for those of you watching and listening, I know there's a lot of you that are moms, and I really wanted to bring Nekole on because, I mean, a lot of the things you've said, Nekole, are literally verbatim the same words that I have spoken on this podcast before. And so we're so in perfect alignment with what it is that we're here and sharing and teaching, which is so beautiful. But your ability to connect deeply with moms and to bring in that sense of trust and peace, that it's okay, that you
Mhm.
don't need to harbor that guilt, that you don't need to have that shame, that you don't need it to look a certain way, that you are okay as you are, and that we can move from that place forward instead of needing to fix anything. I think that's what is going to help shift and transform the way that moms interact with themselves, their partners, and their children. So thank you for the work that you're doing. And honestly, I think it's so important.
Thank you so much. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. It's hopefully a paradigm shift
Yeah.
for parenting and motherhood. So
Yeah, we need it. It's time.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It is time.
It's
And
time.
for those of you listening and watching, I would love for you to either reach out to myself or Nekole and share with us something that you took away from this conversation, like whether it be something that maybe it's not even something that we said, but just this conversation triggered a thought or a new belief system or an idea of something that you want to try. I'd love for you to share it either with myself or with Nekole, because we do this work from our hearts and from our souls, but man, it feels good when you know that it's being well received. Like, it's incredible when someone actually shares the impact that a few words or someone's presence has had in their life. So I hope you're open to that, Nekole, but I would
Oh,
love that.
absolutely. I would love that. Yes.
Amazing. So I know that you have lots of resources for new mamas on your website, and you have such an incredible background of being able to hold space as a coach, but also as that occupational therapist. How can women come into contact with you and be a part of the work that you're doing and this change you're making in the world?
Yeah. So if you visit my website, which is NekoleAmber.com, and I do spell my first name a little differently, it's Nekole and then
Love it.
Amber. I know, right? amber.com. That houses everything. So you can get to my YouTube channel from my website, and that is a wealth of resources in terms of child development, and now some videos on conscious and intentional parenting, self-care for mamas. So it's just like your go-to space if you have questions as a mama or you're looking for support. And then I do offer some courses. So courses relating to breastfeeding. So if you're having any difficulty with that, which I just have a soft spot in my heart, I'm a certified lactation counselor as well. But I have a soft spot because it's one of the first things we do as moms, right? And when it doesn't go well, it's so easy to feel like I'm a failure or I don't know what I'm doing. And it sets this negative tone going forward, right? Yeah, it's so sad. And so to help moms, especially in these days where our physical support is limited, like your ability to show up to a lactation support group, like probably not happening right now, right? So getting that support is super important. And then moving on to the bigger milestones like tummy time and transitioning to solid food. So I've put together courses to help support you fully, because I believe in spending as much time being, so we can connect with our little ones and make these memories and have these beautiful, soulful moments, instead of pulling our hair out trying to do and figure out, right? It's like, I'm so all about like, what's the shortest path here, right? I don't want to struggle any more than I need to. So there's courses. And then of course there is one-on-one coaching with me as well. If you want to dive into conscious parenting on a deeper level, or even business, that's something that I've started coaching on. And I have a mastermind with women who are entrepreneurs and mamas as well. They want to build a legacy, and they also want to show up intentionally for their kiddos. So, balancing, quote unquote, balancing, managing, flowing through this and growing together. It's a beautiful experience. So.
Oh, I think that's so important. There's such incredible value in surrounding yourself, like you talked about before, with women on a similar path or journey to us in all aspects, whether it's through parenting or through business or through consciousness or through sports or whatever it is that your interests lie. I think it's so important to have that community. And so that's amazing that you're hosting that mastermind for mamas and entrepreneurs together, blending them all. And I'm sure there's been many times you're on calls and someone's breastfeeding or someone's kids in the background screaming, and it's just accepted. I think that's so
Yes.
special.
Yes, absolutely. It is beautiful. It's a magical space. I'm super blessed.
Oh, I am. I'm
So
grateful for you. I know I shared it before, but I'm just so grateful for you. And I haven't come across anyone working with women, specifically with moms, that has such a soulful approach before. And I think that's what really drew me in for you is you speak my language, which I love. And you're really deeply serving and supporting women to be their best selves, to also support their kids, to have the greatest upbringing that they can. And knowing that we all have our journeys and that we are here for a reason, and that our souls are on this journey for a reason. And we've chosen this family to have this experience. So it's okay to screw up. But at the same time, bring in as much of that love as you can. Bring in as much of that peace and that grace and that ease wherever possible for yourself. I think that's a really special, sacred message that you're sharing. Thank you for sharing that, Nekole.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been such a beautiful conversation.
Oh,
I'm so
absolutely.
excited.
I'm curious, just for us to end off,
Yeah.
maybe just take a moment and just see, what is it that's on your heart that just really wants to be shared for any woman who's listening to this. Maybe there's a woman who is about to have her first baby. Maybe we have a woman who has 2 toddlers at home and is feeling overwhelmed and exhausted. Maybe we have a woman whose kids are about to leave the house. What is it that you, from your heart, would love to share with the mamas that are listening right now?
Mm. What came through to me quite simply is you're going to be okay. I really think that message needs to be heard right now because there's so much going on and there was a lot of pain and struggle and confusion, but I want women to tap into that deep inner knowing, that deep trust, and remember that you're going to be okay. You will always be okay. You are held, you are loved, you are supported, you are going to be okay.
Oh, so good, Nekole. Yes, 100, 1000%, as you say.
1000%.
1000%. I fully support that. It is absolutely true. And I wish that every single one of you listening and watching feel that you don't just hear it, that you feel it, that you are going to be okay. Feel that essence from Nekole. Feel her beauty, feel her magnetism, feel her trust and belief in you, and see if you can hold that and harbor that within your heart for yourself.
Yes. So good.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. I'll make sure that all of Nekole's information is in the show notes, so you can go follow her on Instagram, check out her YouTube channel, go to her website, send her or I a message about what you've just loved about this episode, what you've taken away. And I will see you next week for the next episode of the Empowered Podcast. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.